welcome back to Destination Morocco podcast. I'm Azdean and your host, and I'm so thrilled to welcome back our producer, the one and only Ted. Welcome back to the podcast, Ted.
Thanks very much. Nice to be here.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Just thinking about it, it's been actually 3 years. Time really flies by. We started our first episode, I believe we did it in February 1st. So this is just, it's really, really incredible and amazing at the same time. We've had, I think around maybe 100 episodes. Mm-hmm. We crossed 100,000 downloads, which is incredible. Right. Thank you to the listeners. So this episode, it's the new year. It's now we're in January. And we want to let the listeners know what's happening in 2025. And we'll talk about also the accomplishments that Morocco as a country in tourism have achieved, major milestones. So I wanna open this to you, Ted, and see if you have any questions for me. And also, both of us are wearing jalabas. The one that you're wearing, it looks really, really nice. I remember, I think you got it from Chefchaouen back when you were in Morocco.
That's right. Yeah.
Amazing. Then the one that I'm wearing, it's also jalaba, but it's a little different. So the one that you have is kind of heavy lifting. So
it's quite heavy, yeah. It's pretty cold here. We're in the middle of winter here in Quebec in Canada, so I needed something warm. And I think it's made from wool. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah. And the funny thing, because to regular people, they may not know the difference. But for a lot of people, they will tell you that it's from the north side of Morocco because of the way that it's made, because of the decoration. And also the wool in the northern side of Morocco is different than the southern part or the Berber jalaba in Morocco. So the one that you have, it's really, really special. It's very special, yes. And what I love about the jalaba is you feel the warmth, on your upper body and also on your feet. Which is amazing. So that's the difference between wearing just regular pants or jeans versus jalaba. So you're really covered and
I haven't even. I'll put the hood up here briefly because it's quite a substantial hood.
Yes.
There you go.
And especially if you're like me, then you really need to put that hood when you're outside on the streets.
But tell us about yours, because you said yours is a little different.
It's a little different. The fabric is different. But also, it's a little bit lighter than the one that you have, Ted. But this one is mostly for the fall, changing season, around, October, November, and so forth. Then I would say around, March, April. So you can wear the one that I'm wearing now, because it's kind of light, but at the same time, it keeps you warm. So, but the one that you have, you can go to sleep in it. Still feel good.
Yeah. Oh, I can imagine. Yeah. It is quite substantial.
Absolutely. So this is just a little bit of a brief. Both of us wearing jalaba, which is very fitting. So awesome.
Yeah, it's a nice reminder of our trip there, which is that's coming up on a couple of years. It was 2 years ago, February 23 that we were there. So lots of fond memories.
Absolutely.
Which is interesting. Now, this episode is not completely about kind of winter travel. We did a previous episode not too long ago talking about travel to Morocco in the winter months, January through March kind of thing. So check that out, everyone listening, if you haven't already. If you're considering going, well, either this winter or if you're listening to this later, maybe next winter and so on. But it's a great time to travel because that's when we were there. The crowds weren't nearly as big. It wasn't as hot. But the weather's still comfortable. You're, of course, these wonderful, comfortable riads and, cozy restaurants and things like that, and great food. So it's a nice time to travel for sure if you get there February or March. That'll tap in then a little bit to today, because as we're heading into beginning of 2025, and just in general, helping the listeners, the viewers here, get a sense for what to expect in Morocco this year as far as travel, events particularly, but maybe if there's any other changes perhaps to visas or entry requirements or transport or anything else like that, if there's any changes or anything different this year, to give people a sense of what to plan for, because you'll find out, as we'll find out in a few minutes, there's some big events coming up, and that may affect your travel plans for sure.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
But why don't we start a little bit? We had a bit of our outline here, some highlights and reviews of the past 12 months, 2024, when some big changes and progress was made in terms of travel to Morocco. So do you want to talk a bit about that?
Oh, definitely. Take a look at my notes. Yeah. So, like you said, Ted, one of the biggest most surprising in the most positive way is that Morocco has ranked number one destination for the first time in Africa. It's always been Egypt. So, you can just, imagine the joy and the happiness about, us Moroccans. Then, the tourism board, they have done an amazing job, just promoting Morocco. Ryanair, it's really big in Morocco and Europe, especially for the cheaper flights, then they have some good discounts between Europe and Morocco and stuff like that. So they have added 11 new unprecedented domestic routes, especially, for example, from Fas to Fas to Rashidiyah. So inside Morocco, Fas to Dakhla. So you can travel just locally instead of driving. You can just take a short flight with Ryanair, and which is really, really nice. And also, one of the biggest ones, we understand there's a line between, you can fly to Morocco directly from Miami. You can do the same thing from DC, from New York, from Montreal. Now they have added a new line, which is by United Airlines, directly from New York to Marrakech. Now, all the other airlines, they go to Casablanca, but this one goes to Marrakech, which is just really, really, really incredible. And also, when we talk about the outreach of Morocco, I know that the tourism board is working really hard with, especially in New York, if you see a lot of advertisement and stuff like that. Then also Morocco is venturing out to Asia, and they have been exhibiting in the ITB in China. So there's now they're reaching the Asian market. So, and also in 2024, Bulgaria has chosen Morocco for its exclusive Grand Tour, which is, again, it's really, really, really major event. And then when we talk about hotels, when we talk about luxury, and remember, Ted, a few months ago we did the live Q&A, and we talk about luxury accommodations in Morocco, and a lot of people, they really loved it. The feedback was excellent, and also a lot of people were surprised that we have, those accommodations in Morocco. So now you have brands like the Royal Mansour. Now they have just opened a new location in Rabat. So now you have Royal Mansour in Marrakech. You have Royal Mansour in Casablanca, which we talked about last time. Now they have a new one in Rabat, which is the capital city of Morocco. The same thing, there's an expansion of Four Seasons hotels, and also Hyde Park. They have expanded also in Morocco. So, in terms of the hospitality, there's hotels are always being built. Brands are moving to Morocco, doing business in Morocco, and so forth. And also, we talked about the international brands. Over 200 international brands in terms of hotels and accommodations that are in Morocco, which is it's really, really incredible. So they can accommodate travelers from luxury to basic and anything in between. Then the biggest one, which is kind of a surprise again, we had 17.4 million travelers in 2024. This goal was actually supposed to be that was the goal for 2026, but they hit it 2 years earlier, which is just incredible. The revenue, from the tourism sector it exceeded $10 million US. So there's really a lot of things that are happening in Morocco. And also, when we look at, for example, women in Morocco, and we look at the co-ops, which there's about 61,000 of them, and 800 of them are led by women. So you can just, see the women's leadership in Morocco, again, which is kind of a surprise, especially when I remember when we did the episode with Max. I was like, I could not believe that women are everywhere. They are in charge. They're taking, care of business. They're, that's, especially you see it in the mountains. The men, they do their own thing, but also the women, they're really the backbone, of the family, the economy, and so forth. So,
yeah, it's great to see.
Yeah, a lot of things. Again, this is just, just a little bit of overview of 2024, which is just, it's beyond incredible. So it makes me personally really, really proud.
Do you know then if they have revised the estimates for this year or maybe next year in terms of the number of visitors they expect?
Oh, that's a really good question, Ted. What I know for a fact, that 2025, if things just stay as they are, will be the biggest year to date in Morocco's history. So if we're talking without any major events, whether soccer events or international events or just regular events and festivals, they should definitely precede 20 million for sure.
Wow.
It's going to be the biggest. So to date, 2024 is the biggest to date. But 2025, with everything that it's going to be happening and planned, it's definitely going to be the year to visit Morocco, and it's going to be a lot of people.
It just goes to show then why they need the infrastructure, the hotels, right, the accommodation, the transport, and on from there. to
Absolutely.
a lot of extra people.
Absolutely, yes. It's going to be a lot of people, yes.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
And I was encouraged to see, we had a note, Morocco is among the safest destinations.
It is also, yes. It was crowned one of the
25.
safest destinations to travel to for 2025. Morocco is not as popular, I hate to say it, but in the US or Canada, not as much as Europe. So it takes us a little bit more of effort and more of education to let people know and get them excited. Hey, Morocco. But, if you say Morocco anywhere else, I mean, people that have visited twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. Yeah. But in the US, it's kind of a little bit because of the distance, because of lack of knowledge, it really doesn't get the credit that it truly deserves.
Yeah.
So...
Well, that's why we're here.
Yes, of course. Yeah, it's been a pleasure. It's been a nice. Yeah.
Now, I think we should touch on one thing, which is, well, we're recording this. It's again January 2025. It's been about 16 months since the earthquake.
Yes.
And from my sense, now you can tell me, fill in some more details, but I mean, there was coverage, of course, when it happened, and that was September of 2023. So again, well over a year ago. Yeah. But, these things kind of fade away in the media and you don't hear much more about it. Can you give us an update on just earthquake recovery? What I do know is that at least in Marrakech and kind of the main touristy areas, things recovered pretty fast. Like within a couple of weeks, things are back to normal. But can you give us an update, Jess? Because if people are still wondering, kind of lingering in the back of their mind, well, what's it like, Is there enough recovery? Is there still a threat? I mean, you never know when an earthquake's going to hit, of course, but generally speaking, things are pretty much back to normal?
Oh, absolutely. I believe there's only one, which is Madrasat bin Yusuf. I could be wrong, is the one that was closed for a couple of months and reopened. When you look at Marrakech, you look at, the earthquake did not hit Marrakech. The earthquake hit the outskirts of Marrakech in the mountains. Now, we look at the buildings and the houses and so forth in the mountains. They just built by with clay. Yeah. There's no iron in the structure. There's it's just they're just very fragile, if you would. So when that earthquake hit the mountain, definitely it caused a lot of devastation. But then in Marrakech, with the force of the earthquake, the Medina, which is the downtown, which is you're talking it's super old neighborhood. It definitely got affected, but then everybody got into it and everybody did what they're supposed to, and some places they're gone, but the majority of it's back to normal. And also I remember that September, that month we were actually super busy and we didn't have any cancellations. Absolutely, they were a lot of concerned, but when people went, we had to switch hotel Riyadh, I believe. I know that for a fact, for some of the guests, because the where they were supposed to stay sustained some damage, cracks in the walls and stuff. So we had to move them somewhere else. But it did not really affect the routes that we take in the tours. If you look at Marrakech to Casablanca to Rabat and so forth, or going south. I mean, you can see it in the Atlas Mountains towards Ait Ben Haddou, before Ait Ben Haddou and after Ait Ben Haddou, obviously. But everybody, I would say, recovered quickly in terms of the tourist sector. But the effect of it, the way they were showing it here in the media, they showed it's a lot worse than it actually was. And that's what really scared a lot of people. In October that same year, there was a convention that it's supposed to be happening in Marrakech, which is one of the biggest in the world, and it went perfectly fine not a hitch. Yes, I forgot the name of it, but everything was good. So luckily, it didn't affect us.
At this point, if there's any opportunity for anyone who's interested to still volunteer to help with any recovery, perhaps get out into the mountains, if that's a type of tour, that's kind of experience that you want, or at least as part of your time in Morocco, is there still chances to do that?
Oh, absolutely. And I remember we did an episode with Nancy. She's also from Canada, and she went to Morocco and she fell in love with the country. And after the earthquake, she moved to Morocco. And then when I went last year, at this time, I met with her. We had a really, really nice dinner. We went to the same place, Saffron. By Koya, which is amazing. I absolutely recommend it. The atmosphere is just incredible. So, and that's what she was doing. So, if somebody wants to volunteer, there's a lot of opportunities to do so, for sure.
Good. Okay, well, that's good to know. And I mean, that's the type of thing. It very much comes down to the individual and their time and their skills and what they're interested in doing. So the best way is really just reach out to Azdean, and he'll put you in contact with other aid organizations. People could need your help, or again, incorporate it as part of your tour for sure, as part of the itinerary.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. And if you look at the way that we do the tours, we do work with a lot of single parents. We work with a lot of women's co-op, because that's where your investment really, money invested, goes to, and it goes back to the community. It goes back to Morocco. It helps those communities, and in terms of help, just to give you a little bit of perspective, it doesn't have to be in the thousands of dollars. $50 is good. $100 is good. You spend $100, you're helping a family. So there's always a way for travelers to help. And I do agree with you, Ted. It can be done either directly with the co-ops, or it can be done through us with the tour.
Great.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
Thank you.
All right, well, let's take a look at, quickly, we'll skim through some of the events for this year. Maybe we'll start with festivals. Now, most of these are annual, as far as I know, but they can be big festivals. So again, if you're thinking about the practicalities of travel, booking accommodation, crowds, prices, it's something to keep in mind when some of these big festivals are taking place. So then the first one on our list, at least coming up here, is late February. It's the Almond Blossom Festival.
Yes.
That sounds nice.
In Morocco, there are festivals throughout the year. In February, there are dozens. In March, there are dozens. The same thing. And some are more popular than others with the locals. Some, they get a lot of international coverage and media and attention. So the one in February, it's in Tafraout, which is in southern part of Morocco, on the west coast side of it, which is really, really nice. So if you're going to be traveling on that area, I highly recommend having that on your itinerary, or visit it as, if you can. So it's really nice.
It says here it's like it's snowing with pink and white blossoms from the trees, I guess.
Yes,
cool.
yes. Yeah, it's really, really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Neat. Okay. Now, I've heard a fair bit about this one. We should talk about it some more, maybe even do another episode. The International Nomads Festival. Yes. What's that about?
The International Nomad Festival, it's before there was no borders. If you remember, we did this episode, I believe it was when we talked about the Khimliya, when we talked about the nomads moving, from Morocco, southern part of Morocco, Mali, Senegal, and so forth. So when they did the borders, everybody stayed wherever they got stuck in a way. So in this one, it's celebrated in Mali and also in Morocco. So Mohammed, we don't visit this area, but because most of what we do is in the Merzouga side of things. So this one, there's a lot of artists that come from France, Spain, Brazil, and it's kind of in the middle of the desert, which is pretty cool. Yeah, it's in the dunes, in the camps, and it's a lot of festivities, a lot of music, and people really, really enjoy it. So
it says it's been around since 2003. Yeah,
it's like camping in the middle of the desert, which is pretty awesome. So.
And then let's jump to June, because maybe this is the biggest festival Morocco is known for. It's the Gnawa World Music Festival.
The Gnawa, this is definitely the biggest. So when we talk about Gnawa music, again, Essaouira, the Gnawa music is different than the Gnawa music we have seen in Khamliya village. There's a lot of history behind it. Then Essaouira as a city, it's like a hip city. It's like, if a lot of people that say keep Austin weird, it's the same thing. So Essaouira has its own vibe, it has its own culture. Really, if you look at it in a way, it's a misfit inside Morocco, if you would, in many different ways. But then when we look at the Gnawa music, what does Gnawa music mean or signifies? It's a spiritual music. It's a lot of music that it's connected to the spirit world. It's kind of, when you get into it, it's some people, they might get scared, but when you see people dancing, they just look like they're possessed. So there's a lot of that in a way. But
it's very distinct music. We've often featured it in our episodes here, either just background, or there's been sometimes on your live tours. Remember when you were in the desert and we heard some of that?
Oh, absolutely.
It's very distinct with the instruments they use, those kind of basic string instruments, right?
Yes.
3 strings.
It's called the gimbri. And then the gimbri, there's different types. Then not everybody can do that music. But it's just it's very intricate. Its roots go back. It did not originate from Morocco, but it goes back again to the days of the trade and the nomads, from Senegal, from Mali, from that part of Africa. So and again, when we talk about Gnawa music, we talk about when the slaves were being taken to England, taken to America. Some came through the Sahara road, through the caravans. And that's where we have the Khamiliya music, the Gnawa music in Khamiliya. And then the other ones that came with the ships, the Essaouira port at that time was the biggest port. They would transport them to Essaouira, then make the move from Essaouira either to the US or England. And it's a different music as well. So there's a lot of history behind it. But also in terms of the international festival, some of those, they get invited by the king. That's how big it is. Some artists, they get the invitation from the king. And it's invitation only. So, and if you get a chance to be part of it, it's amazing. If you get a chance to witness it, it's beyond incredible.
Yeah.
So,
well, it says here, this year, the Gnawa Festival is June 19th to 21st in Essaouira.
Yeah.
So
yes.
keep that in mind.
Yeah.
If it's something people want to see, of course, you should go. But yeah, it'll take a bit extra planning for sure, because it's a busy place. They said last year, 2024, 400,000 people attended. So.
Yes. Yeah. So it's pretty big. Then the other thing is, even when you go to Essaouira, to witness, you can do an experience of Gnawa music. You don't have to wait until
that's true.
The festival. For example, let's say you go in Ted with with the family, then you can just have a couple hours booked with it as an experience. You go to their place and they just perform the music, or they can teach you music or how to play music. So there's many things that you can do, which is really, really incredible. But that's definitely one of the biggest festivals. So
here's another one that's also music. It's the Festival of World Sacred Music.
This one. If you've been to Morocco, and I know you have, and here's the good thing, you've been to Fas, so Fas is different in terms of culture and the food and things. Then you have been to Essaouira with your guide, I believe it was Zaid, and again it has a different vibe and everything. So the music in Fas, again, is completely different. It's more kind of relaxing. It's soulful. It's very spiritual, but it's just it's kind of if you would, the classic music of Morocco. And most of it is played by the instrument. It's oud instrument. It just goes to show how diverse the music in Morocco. It's beyond incredible. So the music in Morocco is pretty big. And this is one of the biggest festivals as well. Last time when we were in Chefchaouen and we were just walking around at night in downtown, and we stumbled upon one of the mini festivals, and it was just beyond incredible. We went inside, and it was just amazing experience. So, yeah.
Yeah, so there's that one. And then there's the International Cultural Festival in Asila. In
Asila. Asila, it's a small city built by the Portuguese. And it's very quiet, very laid back, and you can distinguish Essaouira by its color. If you see Chefchaouen, it's the blue city. Asila, it's a little bit of greenish, if you would. So it's very laid back, small city, but it's really, really, really beautiful.
So International Cultural Festival, there's performances, lectures, exhibitions, workshops, international artists, musicians, intellectuals, and it's an entire month, so it's really kind of spread out.
Yes. And Asila, with the tours, some included in their itinerary, some don't. We've been there. It was a small city. It was a fun city. Really, really safe. Very, very laid back city. That's what I remember from it. It's definitely worth a visit. Probably half a day is good.
Oh yeah, not too far from Tangier.
Tangier, no, because a lot of people, when they're doing Tangier, they make the stop in Asila, which makes sense.
Yeah, so this here, it says July 5th to 27th, 2025. So as I say, it's quite a wide range. If you're in that area, good reason to go to Asila.
Yes.
And you might know, I'm guessing, a fair bit about this one, the Marrakech Popular Arts Festival.
Yes, this is a big one. So it's 10 days in Marrakech. It's a lot of people, and they do it in the Jam Al Fna Square. So it's very popular. It's definitely worth it. So even when you look at the summertime, when we say it's slow, in Morocco there's no more busy season or slow season. It's always really busy. So I remember when we went in the summertime in July, Tangier was completely booked throughout the summer. So you can see that pattern right here as well. And that's what we're going to see for 2025. Book ahead of time.
Yeah.
For sure. There are a few other, small festivals, but then one of the biggest ones is the one that we have in December, which is Marrakech, the Film Festival of Marrakech, which is an international event, especially for the U.S. actors, producers, movies. It's really, really, really a big one. And again, December, we talked about December all the time, especially the last 2 weeks of December. If you're trying to go to Morocco, this is the time really to plan it. January, February, March is the time to plan it ahead of time. When there's availability, when you have choices, especially in accommodations and things like that. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Now, so those are, well, let's say mostly cultural festivals, right? Music,
Yes.
arts, and so on. The other big thing happening in 2025, there's football tournaments,
Yes.
aka soccer. And that's going to bring a lot of attention to Morocco. And we're not talking about your World Cup 2030, we're talking about 2025.
Yes.
There's at least a couple here. There's the African Cup of Nations, the under-17 African Cup of Nations.
Yes, that's women.
Okay.
Just to, when we talk about, these are the busiest years that are projected to be for Morocco, especially, 2025, we talk about what Morocco is hosting, and then you have 2029, it's going to be a busy one because they're hosting another major soccer event. And then we have obviously the World Cup, which is the equivalent to, it's actually bigger than Super Bowl. A lot of people may not know, but
it's big.
you can just imagine what it does to the country in terms of economy and revenue. So 2025 is definitely going to be a huge, huge year for Morocco, especially in terms of, like you said, football or soccer. So it's pretty big, yeah.
Yeah, so there's the FIFA U17 Women's World Cup. It's October 17th to November 8th.
Yes.
2025.
Yes.
And then this is really the tail end of the year. It'll go into 2026, but there's the African Cup of Nations.
Yes.
That's a big tournament. That's kind of like your Euro version of Africa, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And Africans, they go crazy for soccer. If you're African, listen to the podcast, you know what I'm saying. It's wild. It's amazing. So...
Yeah, so, I mean, again, these are things people, if you want to go to these festivals or tournaments, I mean, you should probably be planning right now for that.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
If you haven't started already. And, I mean, this is likely to be extra challenge for accommodation and just navigating the crowds and so on. Yes. Can you tell us a bit about, do you know if any maybe prices changing or different kinds of expenses maybe that might be coming up in 2025? That's
a really good question, Ted. Normally, when we work with hotels, with the riads, they normally give us the new rates for the next year around, some do it earlier than others, around, I would say, average around October. And normally, those rates every year, they're adjusted between 8% to 12% for some, for others a little bit more, depending on, the supply and demand. So looking into this, it's definitely looking at an increase of a price at least 20% and up.
During these events?
Yeah, during these events.
Yeah.
And, we're not really too far. Those prices will just skyrocket so quick. It's unfortunate, just supply and demand again. So
okay, and then do you know of any visa changes or entry requirement changes, anything like that that's come up?
For Americans and Canadians, I know Europe is making some changes, but for Morocco, no. You can travel to Morocco still with no visa requirement, and you can stay up to 90 days in Morocco without a visa. So that has not changed yet. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's good to know. Yeah, I mean, honestly, the main difference, and it started last year, but it's that flight from New York to Marrakech, I think is already starting to change a lot of the traffic patterns. People can go straight there. Therefore, maybe they bring themselves to New York instead of flying from another place to Casablanca. I mean, it gives you more options, but yeah, I think that'll really start to have an impact.
Oh,
Marrakech is a big airport.
It is. It's really, Marrakech, it's a beautiful airport. They redid it. It's very nice. Now there's been talk they're going to move it from where it is right now because, 20, 30, 40 years ago, it was outside the city. Now everything is just expanding. But they're probably going to move it within a decade or so. It's nothing that's going to happen
Yeah.
next couple of years, but probably 10, 15 years from now, they'll definitely have plans to relocate that airport.
Oh, wow.
For sure, yeah, in Marrakech,
Interesting.
yeah. The city is just expanding so fast.
Yeah. I remember that when we were there, there's construction everywhere, and
Yes.
big new neighborhoods,
Yeah,
apartment
yeah.
blocks, and all that. Yeah. Big wide
Absolutely.
avenues,
Yeah.
You get the old, I mean, it's common in Europe and
Yes.
other places, but you get the old part of the city, which is probably hundreds and hundreds of years old.
Yeah.
As soon as you get out of that, the Medina and the central area, you're basically into kind of modern 21st century development
Yes,
and wide
yes.
streets and all the restaurants and the shops, cafes and things that go with that. So you really get that mix of the modern and basically the ancient, the historic in
Yes.
Morocco.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also keep in mind, on the square they have, in all the major cities, huge screen TVs where people can watch the events, the soccer events on the streets. Then you have the cafes. The cafes, they just super booked, and hotels, anywhere there's a TV, it's going to be super packed.
Yeah.
So just plan ahead. Most of the games are at nighttime. Just plan ahead. Sometimes it's going to take you, instead of 10 minutes, 15 minutes, it'll take you maybe an hour or so to get from point A to point B.
Yeah.
And keep that in consideration. If you're traveling on your own, that's one of the things that you really, really have to consider. If you're traveling with us, then we take care of everything for you, and we try to avoid those, busy spots during the time of the event. So,
Yep. Well, there it is. So, I mean, everyone listening and watching, your best concierge, your best travel advisor and host is Destination Morocco.
Thank
and if
you.
you want to go and have a nice structured tour that's planned to your taste, to do the things that you want to do, and have someone on call 24/7. I mean, I can attest to this because that was our experience, and you guys
Thank
were
you.
there, and we worked together to decide where we wanted to go. And then you have WhatsApp and stuff, like it's just a text message away if you have questions, if you need anything. And so it's a real peace of mind, safe way to travel and see whatever you want to see and do whatever you want to do really in Morocco. It's not one of these kind of structured tours where you only go where you're told to go. You can decide what you want to do. Just take some planning and, communication, working together. But you guys are great at figuring that stuff out.
yes. Yeah, I know, especially when you travel with the kids, and things can change.
Yeah.
You may not be tired, but the kids are tired, and
That's right.
and you have to make them comfortable. So
Yeah.
we do go through those changes. Nothing really is set in stones. When we build the itinerary, it's your itinerary. We build it for you, not for us.
Mhm.
And then you make changes, because a lot of people, when they go for 10 days, they're excited when they're in the process of booking, building the itinerary. Yes, I want to do this and this and that, but they don't realize that Morocco is bigger than it actually is. They don't realize there's a lot of driving involved, and you really
Yes.
get tired. So 10 days, I always recommend take a day off in the middle somewhere.
Yeah.
Because you're
Yeah,
going
that's
to
what we
need it.
did. Yeah. We were there for 10 days, and we took an extra day in Fez just to
Yeah.
just relax, just to chill.
Absolutely.
We walked around a bit, and we hung out at the top floor. There's like a rooftop patio in Al
Yes.
Riyadh, and you're looking down over the Medina and all the
Yes.
alleyways, which is really cool, but you're nice and quiet and safe also.
Yeah. Oh,
And
I
kind of
love that.
removed from
Riyadh.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did the same thing. We when we visited, we had 4 days because we were recording everything.
Right.
And day 3, everybody was just we cannot do day 4. We have to, because we're gonna go to Ifran, Azdean, Middle, Merzouga. It was just too much
It's a lot.
to
Yeah.
So it's definitely worth that little break.
Yep. So the website is destinationsmorocco.com. Can we tell a quick story? Because I'm sure people have been wondering about this.
Yes.
Why is it not destinationmorocco.com? It's
That's-
Destinations Morocco.
Okay. Because when we started, that's a really, really good question. When we started, we did the destinationmorocco.co, because the domain name, somebody has it and it costs $30,000. And, I don't have $30,000 to pay for a domain
It's
name.
not
And I
worth
think,
it for you around.
yeah. So that's why I said, you know what? Let me look and see if there's Destinations Morocco. And that's what we found, that it's available, and we bought it. And then when people go to your website, they listen to the podcast, they'll figure out what we do. We specialize in Morocco. We don't do any other destinations.
Right.
We specialize in Morocco. We love the country. Our niche is Morocco, nothing else. Just anything that has to do with Morocco in terms of travel, that's what we do.
That's a beautiful place.
Thank you. Indeed.
So we wish everyone the best 2025. We'd love to see you in Morocco. And, of course, if you have any questions at all, then reach out to Azdean and his team, and they'll follow up.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Thank
Cheers.
you. Thank you. Do you dream of exploring the enchanted land of Morocco? Discover the magic with Destination Morocco, the ultimate travel experience for those seeking luxury and adventure. We specialize in crafting bespoke itineraries tailored to your unique tastes and desires. If you are a discerning traveler who values an immersive, curated adventure, then visit destinationsmorocco.com. That's destinations with an S, Morocco.com. And let us bring your dream Moroccan vacation to life.